This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 517. My name is Daniel Smrokowski. I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Southern Tribal International Global Messenger. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream archives of over 730 episodes absolutely for free, and follow Special Chronicles on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and find our original series, award-winning columns, blogs, and sign up for our newsletter. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast and our special live stream, we are going all inclusive and welcome Special Olympics Director of Youth Development Kaitlyn Hamrick and U.S. Youth Ambassadors Jack and Sophie Klawaitter, siblings and unified partners from my own state, Special Olympics, Illinois. So please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie on the Special Chronicles podcast at specialchronicles.com. Welcome, Kaitlyn and Jack and Sophie. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having us. Hi.
And we're excited that this live stream is of this podcast episode airs on March 1st, the Spread the Word Inclusion Day of Activation global campaign as part of Special Olympics and supported by Best Buddies and their partners. It's aimed at showcasing the impact of inclusive language and actions so that discrimination of people with intellectual disabilities comes to an end. And so we've got a lot to cover on this episode, but why don't we first go around the virtual table and have you each introduce yourself to our listeners. First, we'll begin with you, Kaitlyn. What probably a lot of our listeners might not know, and I did some research kind of in our archives of listeners that interact with this podcast, and I recall that so two things. One is that you that we've known each other for quite a few years, and as I think you, one of our longtime listeners, you had tweeted back when you were a student in college, and then we met I think at the World Games in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So you want to share, kind of share with our listeners your connection to our Special Olympics movement?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We've known each other for quite a few years. I think we first met in 2015 it was. So going on about 8 years now. So lots of history there. But I've been involved with Special Olympics for quite a few years. I got involved when I was a student. I first started around 13 or 14 as a unified partner and youth leader and fell in love with the organization and have never left. So now I am the Director of Youth Development on our Global Youth and Education team. So I focus specifically on the work that we do with young people, both with and without intellectual disabilities around the globe. And one of those exciting projects or initiatives is Spread the Word that I have an opportunity to work on. So really excited to be here with you today and to have a chance to talk more about Spread the Word.
Awesome. I know we have had actually both of the co-founders, Timbo Shriver and Soren Palumbo, have both been guests on this podcast. On I don't know what episodes numbers, because we've had hundreds. But now let's move over to Jack and Sophie and have you introduce each other. Just like Kaitlyn, we've known each other for many years since, Jack, you were involved in the young athletes and athlete leadership programs with Special Olympics Illinois. And your mom, both of you, your mom, Brooke, is currently the board chair of our state's program in Illinois. And so, but for our new listeners, why don't you share your connection to our Special Olympics movement? Jack, what disability you were diagnosed with, and touch a little bit on your experience in the young athletes program and how that shaped both of you as a student in Unified Partner, Unified Basketball, and Unified Champion Schools.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Jack, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm a junior at Peatone High School, and I have Down syndrome. I started participating in young athlete program when I was 2 years old, because that program is for kids and without intellectual disabilities. My younger sister started participating with me, and when they turned 2, also our inclusive participation with Special Olympics has grown from there. You really could say that none of us have never had to know a life without Special Olympics. And our lives are much better as a result.
Hi, my name is Sophie, and I am 15 years old. I'm a freshman at Peatone High School. When Jack and I were in junior high, Jack was pretty severely bullied, and at the time, he didn't really have the communication skills to tell our parents what was happening. And it was really only one kid that took the direct action against Jack. However, through social media, many kids were aware and allowed the action. Only one girl came forward and told the administration what was happening. That situation was addressed effectively by the school, but it highlighted a need for awareness and more inclusion within our school and community. As I said, we had the support of our school administration, so fast forward 3 years, and our school is now a unified champion school. In fact, right now, Jack and I are competing together on unified basketball, and our school team is going to state. It is really great to compete with Jack, and I feel so proud of him when I get to watch him out there competing as an equal team member with our classmates. The kids that might have been aware of his bullying 3 years ago now know his name and know him as a person. And they call out in the game, "Pass to Jack," and it's so cool. Basketball is one of his favorite sports, and now we get to represent our school at the state tournament.
And last summer, we applied and were accepted to be U.S. Youth Ambassadors with Special Olympics North America. It is a 2-year role in which we will work with other unified pairs from across the country to promote inclusion across the country.
Through this role, we've created some fun TikToks to educate the importance of inclusion. And right now, we're working with other teams to put on a unified youth leadership conference in New Mexico. It's a super fun role.
Awesome. We'll hear a little bit more about your experience with the Unified Schools program and the Unified Generation, as well as Spread the Word to Inclusion and Capitol Hill Day that you guys just came back from. And then Kaitlyn also will hear more from you about why youth leaders like Jack and Sophie and so many others around the country, around the globe, are going all in for inclusion this year. And so we'll go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we will hear more from Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie as we go all in for inclusion right here on specialchronicles.com. We'll be right back. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcasts, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And we should be back. There we go. We're back. You're listening to the Special Chronicles show. This is episode 517. Here with Kaitlyn from Special Olympics International and Jack and Sophie, two youth ambassadors from the same state of Illinois. I know when we were asked Kaitlyn, as I'm sure you know, when we were asked to put together this podcast together, we were looking for a unified partner, and I thought, well, why not in my same state of Illinois, we kind of stick with you. And so before we get into spread the word to inclusion, I guess we'll kind of backtrack a little bit and have Jack and Sophie, you guys are just about a couple weeks off of this past month taking part in the Capitol Hill Day in Washington, D.C. And can you tell us, for our listeners who might not know what Capitol Hill Day is, about your experience with talking with our government leaders about school and what society can learn?
We traveled to Washington, D.C. and just participated in 10 meetings over 2 days.
We met with the staff of 8 of our state representatives, and we got to meet with both of our state senators.
They were all really nice and wanted to hear about unified champion schools and healthy initiatives.
It was so inspiring to be on Capitol Hill and realize that our legislators want to hear from us and our stories, and that our stories matter. We shared the importance and impact of the Unified Champion Schools program to ensure continued funding and support at the national level. One of the first Unified Champion Schools in the state of Illinois has seen a change in their community culture over the years as a result of having this program in their schools.
Awesome. Kaitlyn, I know this is not in the script, but I don't know, did you want to comment on a little bit more to give our listeners a little bit more context on what Capitol Hill Day is?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So Capitol Hill Day is, one of the most important days for Special Olympics because it's our chance to be out on the Hill and really talking to the senators and the representatives and the people on the Hill about the importance of our work and why we need support to make our programming exist and to make our programming happen. And one of those programs that is really important that we talk about is the Unified Champion Schools program. So having young people like Jack and Sophie that are in schools and have felt the impact of unified schools and know why it's so important are able to be there to advocate for continued support. So it really is an important day for Special Olympics, and it is so key to have young people and Special Olympics athletes be part of that day. So really excited that Jack and Sophie were able to be there for Special Olympics Illinois. But each of our state programs that were represented had athletes and young people with them as well.
Awesome. Well, let's move on with this segment, and we'll get into it. I guess the main topic for this episode on the Spread the Word to Inclusion. So if listeners are watching this live in real time, March 1st, 9 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So a different live stream that we usually do for these podcasts, but we'll begin with you, Kaitlyn, and then we'll come back to you, Jack and Sophie. But Kaitlyn, can you share with us a little bit, kind of break it down, I guess, to the basics of what is Spread the Word to Inclusion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start a little bit with the history, and then talk about where we're at now with Spread the Word. But Spread the Word was founded in 2009 by two students, actually. So it was two young people that came up with this idea. They saw a problem within their community and wanted to fix it. And they came up with Spread the Word, and it was originally called Spread the Word to End the Word. And Spread the Word to End the Word was originally created as a campaign to eliminate the use of the R word. So the derogatory use of the R word in everyday language. And these two young students really led the charge to drive this campaign for Special Olympics. And we had state programs and schools all across the U.S. that were pledging to eliminate the use of the R word. And it was a really successful campaign. And since then, we've evolved a little bit. We're now called Spread the Word Inclusion is the work that we do. And so it's evolved from being a campaign to eliminate the use of the R word to now really advocating for inclusion and respect for everyone. So now through Spread the Word Inclusion, we're really calling on schools, on organizations, on communities, on young people to commit to inclusion and acceptance of people with intellectual disabilities. So we've really come, a long way over these past, several years from 2009 to where we're at now. But it's really important for us to realize and to, really bring awareness to the fact that people with intellectual disabilities still face exclusion, and they still face social isolation, still face social abuse in schools. And that's what we're really trying to bring awareness to through Spread the Word, and to really help people see that each of us have a role in playing, have a role in really changing, the lives of individuals with intellectual disabilities, and really have a strong role in promoting inclusion for everyone.
Awesome. And Kaitlyn, before we bring it back to you, Jack and Sophie, I want to comment on one thing that you said, and a couple quotes that, and I'm pulling up a text message, but the Chief Education Officer, Jacqueline Jordo, who I believe is Yo Boss, I believe.
Yes, correct. So, she leads the Global Youth and Education Department.
Awesome. And she wrote an article in the Global Partnership of Education titled, which I think kind of talks to this shift or this change in perspective for Spread the Word, which the title of the article says, "Falling Short, Not Including Children with Intellectual Disabilities in School Hurts All Children." And I had texted that to my mom, and my mom's a retired teacher. And so she said that she loved it. And I want to highlight this one particular quote that my mom had said based on this article that Jacqueline wrote. My mom said, I love it whenever Special Olympics teaches us that the movement is based on play and sport, but that increasingly it's pushing for inclusion and equality in all aspects of society, schools, work, government. And I think that, and I know if you want to comment on that, or it might be a good time to bring Jack and Sophie back in, but did you want to comment on what my mom said about, because I think that kind of fits with the kind of change that you said that Spread the Word is going to.
Yeah, no, I think it fits great. And, Special Olympics, we are a sports organization. And so sports is at the core of everything we do. But for us to, really promote inclusion and acceptance, it goes far beyond just the playing field. We have unified sports within Special Olympics where we bring people with and without intellectual disabilities together. So we have that inclusive model. But we also, want to see inclusion within schools and inclusion within the workplace and inclusion within communities and spread the word, being rebranded as Spread the Word Inclusion is really helping us promote that message. So I think that goes really in line with what your mom was saying.
Awesome. Absolutely. And that's a perfect kind of transition to bring Jack and Sophie, you back in to the conversation and you kind of share with us from your perspective, why is Spread the Word Inclusion Day, this day of activation, and throughout the whole year, this campaign, why is it so important for school communities like your school and school communities across the globe and for society? Why is it important for us to go all in for inclusion?
It is important to remind people that we should all be included and we can all contribute.
Yeah, so while we should be all thinking about spreading inclusion every day, it is important to recognize that we still have a lot of work to do, and a day to pledge commitment to that work is super important. The celebration and ceremony around that pledge to include formalizes the idea and makes it more likely that people will think and act differently.
Awesome. Well, we're going to continue and talk a little bit about the 2023 theme of going all in, and stay tuned at the end of the episode because Kaitlyn will talk about our Road to Berlin and the upcoming World Games and what youth leaders are doing globally at the end of this episode. So I wanted to just briefly kind of tie that in, but we're going to take a short sponsor break and hear from two of our partners on this podcast, and we'll be right back as we continue to go all in for inclusion with Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie right here on specialchronicles.com. We will be right back. I need to find the button to press. Here we go. We'll be right back on specialchronicles.com. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives, and Wary is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. Support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with United Airlines and the Bridge BLG. Bridge BLG is committed to being an ally for all employees and customers with disabilities. Bridge helps to create internal awareness to keep accessibility needs in mind and partner with key organizations to empower disability inclusion for employment and travel. Bridge, connecting people of all abilities. Book your travel today on United.com or on the award-winning United app. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United. That's specialchronicles.com/United. Don't you just love that background music?
Great.
our sponsor breaks. So, anyways, we are back. This is episode 517 of the Special Chronicles show. We are going all in for inclusion with Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie. And this 2023 theme, maybe we'll begin with you, Kaitlyn, and then we'll conclude the segment with you, Jack, and Sophie. But Kaitlyn, do you want to share with us a little bit? And you can either read it from the script or kind of ad-lib it in your own words. But can you share with us a little bit about what the 2023 theme is for March 1st, as well as for throughout this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. So this year for Spread the Word, our theme is going all in, or going all inclusive. And one thing that I think is just, exciting about our strategy for 2023 is that we're really recognizing that inclusion just isn't about including one more group. It's not about setting one more place at the dinner table, and it's not about just bringing one more person into the photo, but inclusion is really about everyone. And I feel like that's what we're capturing through this theme, is that everyone needs to be at the table, everyone needs to be heard, everyone needs to feel included, and everyone, really needs to have that place where they feel safe. And Special Olympics is really working to create that community and, create that environment for people. So that's really where this theme came from. It's really an action-oriented theme for this year, where we're looking for every single person to participate. So through this theme of going all in, or going all inclusive, we're calling on our youth, we're calling on our Special Olympics athletes, community members, ambassadors, really everyone, to share their stories of courage and determination and how they're really advocating for inclusion. So we're looking to hear stories from people of how they went all inclusive, or what they're doing to really commit to inclusion within their school or community. And, one thing that I think is exciting is that it doesn't have to be, these acts of inclusion can start small. It can be something like inviting someone to lunch, or sitting down and having a conversation with somebody that might be sitting by themselves. And these small acts of inclusion that everyone does within their community are going to really, boil up into this large, movement that we're creating through Spread the Word. So that's just a little bit of the context around our theme for this year. We're really, honing in on this going all inclusive, and really excited to hear from young people, advocates, members of the community, around the globe, how everyone plans to go all in this year.
Awesome. Well, that's a perfect transition. And I guess with this live stream, with this podcast, this Special Chronicles podcast, I guess we can begin to kick off the story with hearing from two youth ambassadors, Jack and Sophie, and we want to invite all of you listening to, if you're watching this live stream on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, put in the comments of how you're going all in for inclusion. Write down below wherever you're listening. Put in the comments. But I guess, Kaitlyn, that's a good transition to bring it back to you, Jack and Sophie, and share with us, how are you going all in for inclusion? I know in doing our prep for this podcast, you guys are fresh off a really cool way of cool. There's a reason why we're saying cool way of going all in for inclusion. But you want to share with us, and I'm sure our chairman, Tim Shriver, will be all in for the way that you and your family are going all in for inclusion.
Oh, yeah. Well, this weekend, my whole did the super plunge to raise money for Special Olympics. That means we plunge once on an hour, every hour for 24 hours.
So there are 5 of us in our family, so that means we went all in a number of ways and took a total of 120 plunges into icy water this weekend alone. And it wasn't just us. Just in our plunge, we also had a 4-person support team and a special appearance by our neighbor with a front loader to help us with 2 plunges. For our plunges, we work to raise awareness of the mission of Special Olympics by making each plunge a special video. Some of the videos send a message and educate, while others are just the 5 of us working together to make some scenes as amusing as possible while getting people to donate for Special Olympics.
Awesome. Well, we'll try to, I don't know if any of those videos are public, but I know I saw your mom, Brooke, had put some of those videos on her Facebook page. I don't know if Kaitlyn, I'll try to see if I could put a link to one of those videos in the show notes for this episode, specialchronicles.com/podcast517. But I don't know if Kaitlyn, if you saw any of those videos from their super plunge.
Not yet, but really excited to see them.
Awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
They're on YouTube, so if you look up Klawaitter Family Plunge, they hopefully would pop up.
Awesome. So I will definitely, I'll look it up on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the show notes if you guys are listening or watching this live stream, just look in the show notes on specialchronicles.com for episode 517, and we'll put a link to the Klawaitter family's super plunge, because I think that's I'm sure Kaitlyn, you agree, that's a perfect way of going all in for inclusion. I don't know if Kaitlyn, did you want to comment on their?
No, yeah, completely. Especially knowing that you plunged for 24 hours. I have done a couple plunges in the past, and it's just one plunge, and I am usually freezing and, ready to be warm after that. So I can't imagine continuing to plunge for 24 hours. So big kudos to you guys for doing that. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, I think our listeners will applaud. And just like you, Kaitlyn, I've done a few plunges actually. This coming up this Sunday, March 5th, I will be doing my plunge with our CEO and our board. But then back in 2019, so when I became a Sergeant Shriver International Global Messenger, I plunged with my mentor and with Tim Shriver in DC. But then I also did the super plunge that I think Jack and Sophie, you and your family was there, where I plunged with I did the super plunge with our CEO back in 2019. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun to, and I guess a cool way of going all in for inclusion. Kaitlyn, I guess the weird, Jack and Sophie know why I'm saying cool, but our law enforcement torch run, I guess the theme for the polar plunge this year is to be cool, and so that's why I was saying that it's a cool way of, and I guess we'll tie it in with going on for inclusion. It's a cool way to go all in.
There you go. That's wonderful. Cool way to go all in. That's great. And
so hopefully all of you listening will be motivated to either do the polar plunge or to find ways in your school and your community and your workplace to go all in for inclusion. Kaitlyn, before we take the last break and then get to some final thoughts and go on the road to Berlin, but do you want to share, Jack and Sophie shared, but do you want to share what you are doing this year to go all in for inclusion with either with the family?
Would love to. Yeah. So, in the on the professional side, I get the pleasure of working directly on Spread the Word, in addition to several others that are on our Global Youth and Education team as well. But through that, I get to, help other young people really see the power of Spread the Word and really promote it out to young people. So that's one way that I'm going to go all in this year, is just really making sure that we can try and reach as many young people as possible through Spread the Word. But on a more personal note, I'm also planning to bring Spread the Word to a local school that has not participated prior. So really excited to have a school here in North Carolina participate in Spread the Word for the first time this year. So that's really how I'm going to be going all in this year.
Awesome. I have no idea what my video is doing, but we will try to work through that and take our next break. I should say a final break before we get before coming up after the break. We will go on the road to Berlin, as well as get some final thoughts from you, Jack and Sophie, and talk about what inclusion means to all of us at the end of the episode. So we'll be right back right here. Oh, my video might have gone, but hopefully you can still hear me. And so we will be right back right here on specialchronicles.com. So that's a good time to take our last break. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcast with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And we should be back there. Oh, wait. Hold on. Sorry. Let me go ahead and get rid of that echo. Let's see if we got rid of that echo. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry. We are working through technical difficulties. I will hopefully try to get back there. As we are back, our guests are Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie right here on the Special Chronicles show on specialchronicles.com, and we are trying to kind of work through Kaitlyn, as we mentioned, I think briefly at the top of the episode, but we are going as we go on the road to Berlin. I think my video might have got caught, but hopefully you can all still hear me. We should be all good. And so, sorry, this is
You're doing great. We can still hear you.
We're doing good. Okay, so maybe let's just go with that. Who needs to see the host?
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of go with that, and maybe I will just keep you guys on screen, because who needs to see the host? Kaitlyn, as I look and just to get you two on screen, can you share with us what the youth leaders are doing globally during our upcoming Special Olympics World Games in Berlin this June 17th to the 25th?
Yeah, so at World Games in June, we are going to have a Global Youth Leadership Summit. And Special Olympics has hosted a Global Youth Leadership Summit that happens in conjunction with World Games since 2001. And our Global Youth Leadership Summit happens at every single World Games that occurs. So it happens every 2 years. And through the Global Summit, we bring young people without intellectual disabilities together from all around the globe. So we're going to have over 50 delegations represented. And each delegation is comprised of a young person with an intellectual disability, a young person without an intellectual disability, and an adult mentor. And so those 50 delegations that are represented, they're going to be from over 45 Special Olympics programs globally. And they will be in Berlin for a 5-day summit. And throughout those 5 days, we're going to focus on quite a few different things with the young people. It's really a packed agenda, but we're going to go through youth leadership training, Our young people are going to be working to develop projects and gain project management skills. They're going to have an opportunity to present their ideas for issues within their communities. They're going to be creating a youth declaration. And really, they're going to be, helping to determine what they should be doing once they go back to their local community to further, spread the word of Special Olympics and to continue to promote youth leadership work. So it's really going to be an exciting event. All of the young people that are at the summit will go home from the summit with a grant to actually lead a grassroots level project within their school or community. And those projects will range from starting a unified school to starting a unified sports club to working on an advocacy project. So they really will be wide ranging in terms of their focus. But these, 50 projects that will happen around the globe are all going to help carry on the legacy of World Games and will really be focused on, spreading acts of inclusion around the globe and really making sure that these young people feel empowered to be the change and to look at problems that they might have within their community and come up with innovative ways to actually solve those problems through a project. So that's what's going to be happening in Berlin for our youth work. It's going to be very exciting. We're also doing quite a bit with the Athlete Congress that's going to be happening as well. So our young people will have a chance to hear from and be mentored by some older adult Special Olympics athletes that are there going through leadership training as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what my schedule is going to be as an SSI GM, but hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to connect or see what the youth leaders are doing. Somehow, I think I'll be involved with the Global Athlete Congress. But yeah, so if our listeners want to follow along with what the global youth leaders are doing, I guess this is a good transition to our social media plugs. But in Berlin, on the 17th to the 25th of June, can you share that how listeners can follow along with the youth leaders in Berlin?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be sharing quite a bit on social media. So the main Special Olympics social media channels will be sharing some of the content about our Global Youth Leadership Summit that's happening. But then after the Youth Leadership Summit, we're also going to be sharing out quite a bit on social media of the projects that are occurring and really following the progress of those projects from the young people as well. So social media is the best way to kind of follow along with our young people as they're in Berlin, and then also as they are following or as they're working to implement their project as well. Awesome.
And now to kind of bring it back to the spread the word, inclusion plugs. I hopefully all of you listening or watching this live stream can go all in for inclusion around the globe and take action in your community. Today, March 1st, we are excited to celebrate the Spread the Word's Day of Activation as we go all in for inclusion. Hopefully, you can follow in the footsteps of youth ambassadors Jack and Sophie and go all in. You can do a virtual super plunge like the Klawaitter family did, or find another way. But Kaitlyn, you want to share with us where our listeners can learn more? Maybe get some ideas. Get some more ideas on what they can do to go on for inclusion, as well as where our listeners can pledge to support inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. So spreadtheword.global is where you can go to learn more about Spread the Word, find all of the resources. There's some really great content there in our toolkits that really talks through what you can do, whether you're looking to do something for Spread the Word within your school or within your community. There's some really great content there. So I would highly suggest that you check out spreadtheword.global. And that's also where you can make your pledge as well. So spreadtheword.global/pledge is where you can go to make your pledge online and to really, take the pledge for inclusion, but also tell us how you plan to go all in.
Awesome. And then to learn more about Special Olympics Unified Champion schools like Jack and Sophie's school, and the other schools across the country, across the globe, where can our listeners go to learn more about the Unified Generation?
Yeah, so the best place for that is generationunified.org. There's, great content on there around Unified Champion schools, really great resources there, wonderful videos. So definitely check out generationunified.org.
Awesome. And for those listeners that are listening to this podcast, we want to invite you to, I believe the website is specialchronicles.com/unified schools, all one word. We did a 3-part series with a few different examples. So if you go to specialchronicles.com/unified schools, you can listen to that 3-part series with to learn more or to listen to more as well. And now, as we wrap up this episode, I think we might be having some technical difficulties, and so we will wrap up. And as Kaitlyn's video tries to come back on, we'll bring it back to you, Jack and Sophie. But before we get to the final question, do you have any final thoughts on your overall time here today on the Special Chronicles show that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I mean, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for having us on the show. I mean, this is really fun and important to us. And I mean, I think I speak for both of us when we say we're very passionate about Special Olympics. So thank you.
Awesome. And so now, let's see, as Kaitlyn's video comes back on, we are all having difficulties here, but Kaitlyn, before we get to that final question, and I'm going to probably stay off camera so we can kind of wrap up this show somewhat professionally. At least this mic is sounding professional. But Kaitlyn, do you want to share with our listeners any final thoughts on your overall time here today? I think you have listened for quite a number of years, but this is probably your first time actually on the podcast. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, so first just wanted to say, thank you for having us. It's been, really great being able to be on your show, but really also appreciate your desire to highlight Spread the Word and the importance of the advocacy work that Special Olympics is working to do through Spread the Word. I think it's really important to hear, directly from the young people that are making this happen, like Jack and Sophie that were on the line today. So really appreciate you both joining as well. And Daniel, just really wanted to thank you for, making sure that you could bring awareness to Spread the Word through your podcast this year. So just wanted to say thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you on, Kaitlyn, to have you on, Jack, to have you on, Sophie, because I think by our listeners hearing not only from the staff like yourself, Kaitlyn, but also to hear from youth leaders, I think that's how we can really go all in for inclusion. That's how we can bring inclusion to our school communities, to our local communities, to our workplaces as well. And finally, we've got a final question that we'll conclude with, and we've got a bumper, so we're going to go ahead and roll that bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference. Our demands are
equality,
dignity, and the recognition of our
shared humanity. We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
So I know that bumper talked about another inclusion pledge that Special Olympics has. But ever since I attended the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, I've been asking all of our guests one final question, so I'll do the same with all three of you. And as you know, inclusion and the inclusion revolution is a big message of this movement, big message of Special Olympics and the Spread the Word campaign as well. And it's important. He also here at Special Chronicles. I just this afternoon had a Special Chronicles board meeting with my dad, who's our business manager, and our board members. And one of the things that we highlighted is that through this podcast, through this platform at Special Chronicles, is we're helping by people like you, Kaitlyn, and you, Jack, and Sophie, by you sharing your stories about Spread the Word inclusion. And we are, along with all of the other podcast episodes that I've produced over this is the 15th year, that over the past 15 years, helping to create inclusive connections among our listeners, among our guests like yourself. And so in that spirit and in the spirit of that PSA that you just heard, we'll conclude with what does inclusion mean to you? Maybe we'll go with you, Kaitlyn, and then we'll end it with Jack and Sophie.
Yeah, really great question. I love that you end all of your podcast with this question, because I do think it's really important. To me, I would say inclusion means not just being invited to the party, but being asked to dance.
Oh, perfect. And Jack and Sophie, you want to answer that as well? What does inclusion mean to both of you?
Inclusion for me means that my peers and I have a voice and are included for me. Inclusion creates confidence.
To me, finding inclusion is finding the value in each person and taking the time to get to know each of them and their unique talents. Seeing every person as an individual and not only as their diagnosis or label.
Awesome. Well, that's a perfect way to wrap up this episode. It's always empowering to hear our guests answer that final question, and I'm sure we'll have to have you both on again in the future. Jack and Sophie, I'm sure I'll see you around at other events around the state of Illinois. But Kaitlyn, looking forward to connecting with you when we are in Berlin this June. Again, I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be like, but probably won't find out till a month before we leave. But
I'm sure we'll find time to meet up, though. It'll be great.
Yes, absolutely. And so with that, I just want to remind our listeners and viewers, again, you only see me on audio, but that's kind of how I started this podcast. It's just audio, and so who needs to see the host, right? I mean, we'll spotlight in Kaitlyn, you, and Jack, and Sophie, and so with that, I just want to remind all you listening, SpecialChronicles.com is where you can go and find the show notes for this episode 517. Just look in the description below and follow Special Chronicles on social media. Share our podcast, follow and subscribe so we can grow our audience. And we've got some exciting plans ahead, some exciting guests coming up. I can't speak to some of those initiatives of Special Chronicles, but we've got, if you subscribe to our newsletter on SpecialChronicles.com, we've got some exciting stuff coming up that I'm excited about, and hopefully later this either summer or fall we will be able to announce some of those exciting initiatives that we'll be working on at Special Chronicles. But thank you to all three of you, Kaitlyn, Jack, and Sophie, for coming on this podcast. And we'll put links to where you all can take the pledge to spread inclusion in your communities. And until then, have a great week, and we will see you all coming up in the coming weeks. We'll be having an author on who wrote a book called what's the name of the I just had the it's called I should look down in my notebook here. Daisy Woodworm Changes the World, which is has a character with Down syndrome, and so that's it's a middle school type book, good for all ages. And then we got some more exciting guests in the coming weeks. So stay subscribed to this podcast. We'll see you next Monday and every Monday, 6 p.m. Central Time, right here on SpecialChronicles.com. And have a great week. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks as always to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.